Picture this. Hollywood, 2001, the golden couple, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, seemingly untouchable. Their marriage a decade-long fairy tale played out on red carpets and magazine covers worldwide. Then, like a bolt from the blue, it shattered. Whispers filled the air, but the real bombshell dropped years later, buried in the fine print of what would become one of the most expensive divorce settlements in history, a staggering $325 million. But within that mountain of money lay a single, shocking clause that sent ripples through Tinseltown and exposed a raw nerve in their perfect facade. A clause specifically about cocaine. Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of Nicole Kidman's $325 million divorce, unearthing the truth behind the explosive cocaine clause, the secrets it hinted at, and how it shaped the future of one of Hollywood's most resilient stars. This isn't just about money. It's about power, control, and the hidden battles fought behind closed doors. The world first fell in love with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman on the set of the 1990 racing drama, Days of Thunder. He was the biggest movie star on the planet, already a global icon with Top Gun and Rain Man under his belt. She was a rising star from Australia, talented and strikingly beautiful. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and it quickly spilled over into real life. They married that same year, Christmas Eve, in a private ceremony in Telluride, Colorado. Hollywood had its new king and queen. For the next decade, they were inseparable, adopting 2 children, Isabella and Connor, and building a life that seemed charmed. They starred together again in Far and Away and the erotic Stanley Kubrick masterpiece, Eyes Wide Shut, a film that took years to make and was shrouded in such secrecy it fueled endless speculation about their relationship. They walked countless red carpets, arms entwined, smiles dazzling, presenting an image of unwavering unity and success. They were the epitome of Hollywood power couple goals. But beneath the gleaming surface, cracks were forming, invisible to the public eye, but widening with each passing year. The whispers started subtly, then grew louder. Rumors of intense pressure, of a controlling environment, of Nicole feeling increasingly isolated within the formidable shadow of Tom's superstardom and, more significantly, his deepening involvement in the Church of Scientology. Scientology wasn't just a religion for Tom Cruise. It was his entire framework, his support system, his inner circle. Nicole, raised Catholic, never fully embraced it. Reports suggested she felt like an outsider, her beliefs and desires often secondary to the demands placed upon her by Tom's status within the organization. The pressure cooker of constant scrutiny, the demands of their high-flying careers, and the growing chasm in their core beliefs began to take a devastating toll. Friends and insiders later hinted at long periods of separation, of Nicole feeling lonely and adrift, struggling to maintain her own identity within the overwhelming Cruise Scientology ecosystem. The fairy tale was fraying at the seams, held together only by public expectation and the immense machinery surrounding them. Then, in February 2001, the impossible happened. Tom Cruise filed for divorce. The news hit like a seismic shock. The reasons cited, the ever-vague, ever-convenient, irreconcilable differences, but the timing was brutal. Nicole was blindsided. She later revealed in interviews that she learned about the divorce from a reporter. She was pregnant at the time with Tom's child, a pregnancy that tragically ended in a miscarriage shortly after the filing, a devastating personal loss, compounded by the public humiliation of the sudden split. The world watched in disbelief as the seemingly perfect couple imploded overnight. The media frenzy was unprecedented. Every detail, every rumor, every potential reason for the split was dissected endlessly. Was it Scientology? Was it infidelity? Was it the strain of Eyes Wide Shut? The truth, as it often is in Hollywood, was complex and deeply personal, buried under layers of PR spin and legal maneuvering. But one thing was clear. This wasn't going to be a simple, amicable parting. This was war, fought with lawyers and confidentiality agreements, and the stakes were astronomical. The divorce proceedings that followed were shrouded in intense secrecy. Both parties were represented by legal heavyweights, and the details of their settlement were locked down tighter than a movie script leak. What we did know, thanks to the inevitable financial disclosures required in such high-profile cases, was the sheer scale of the wealth involved. Tom Cruise was, and remains, one of the highest-paid actors in history. Nicole Kidman, while successful in her own right, with films like To Die For and Moulin Rouge, which was released during their separation and became a massive hit, was still operating in a different financial stratosphere. The negotiations were reportedly tense and protracted. Nicole, determined to secure her future and that of her children, fought hard. And when the dust finally settled, the figure that emerged was staggering. Nicole Kidman walked away with approximately $325 million. This wasn't just alimony. It was a landmark settlement, one of the largest in celebrity divorce history at the time. It spoke volumes about the length of the marriage, the disparity in their earnings during that period, and likely, Nicole's legal team's skill in navigating the complex negotiations. It was a fortune that guaranteed her financial independence for life. A stark symbol of the price Tom Cruise paid to end the marriage, but buried within that mountain of money, hidden in the legalese and confidentiality clauses that governed every aspect of their postmarital lives, lay a provision so specific, so shocking, it became legendary in Hollywood circles. The cocaine clause, while the exact wording, remained sealed tighter than Fort Knox, thanks to ironclad non-disclosure agreements. Credible reports from insiders familiar with the settlement details have consistently confirmed its existence and purpose. The clause, essentially, mandated that Nicole Kidman would undergo regular, random drug testing, specifically, testing for cocaine. If she were to test positive for cocaine use, the financial terms of the settlement could be jeopardized. She could potentially lose a significant portion, or even all, of that $325 million. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't a general morality clause. This wasn't about behavior detrimental to the children. This was a laser-focused provision targeting one specific, illegal substance. Why? What was the purpose? What did Tom Cruise and his legal team know, or suspect, that made such a clause not just necessary, but enforceable within the biggest divorce payout of its time? The inclusion of this clause is where the story takes its darkest, most speculative turn. Its existence immediately begs the question, why cocaine? Was there evidence? Was there a history? Did Nicole have a past struggle with the drug that Tom's team was aware of? Or was it something even more insidious, a preemptive strike, a tool of control? Let's consider the possibilities. One theory suggests it was a protective measure. Perhaps Tom, deeply entrenched in Scientology's anti-drug stance, the church has well-documented anti-drug programs and beliefs, was genuinely concerned about potential exposure or association if Nicole were to develop a problem, especially given the pressures of her sudden single life and immense wealth. A positive drug test involving cocaine would be a PR nightmare for both, but potentially more damaging for Tom's carefully curated image. The clause could be seen as insurance, a way to mitigate that risk, but a darker, more cynical interpretation points towards control. Nicole Kidman was stepping out of Tom Cruise's shadow and into her own brilliant light. Moulin Rouge had just earned her first Academy Award nomination. She was poised to become a huge star in her own right, independent of him. The cocaine clause, in this view, becomes a leash, a constant, looming threat, a reminder that her newfound financial freedom, her very independence, came with strings attached, strings controlled, ultimately, by her ex-husband's legal team. It was a way to ensure she remained acceptable, that her behavior didn't stray into territory that could reflect badly on him or the Church of Scientology. It was a powerful, silent weapon, hanging over her head every single day. The threat of losing hundreds of millions of dollars based on a random drug test is an unimaginable pressure. It effectively gave Tom Cruise's camp a mechanism to potentially ruin her financially if she stepped out of line, in a way they deemed unacceptable. It was control disguised as protection. The timing and context add another layer of intrigue. The divorce finalized in 2001. Nicole Kidman, suddenly single, wealthy, and free from the constraints of the Cruise Scientology orbit, was navigating a whole new world. She was seen out more, socializing, embracing her independence. The cocaine clause, implemented at this precise juncture, feels like a calculated move to police that newfound freedom. It wasn't about past behavior. It was about future behavior. It was about setting boundaries for her life after Tom Cruise. It was a chilling reminder that even though the marriage was over, the tentacles of control and influence weren't entirely set. The clause ensured that her conduct, even in her private life, remained subject to scrutiny with devastating financial consequences. It speaks volumes about the level of distrust and the desire to maintain influence that permeated the end of their relationship. How did Nicole Kidman react to this clause? We can only imagine the mixture of anger, humiliation, and steely resolve it must have provoked. Here she was, a woman who had just endured a very public and painful divorce, a miscarriage, and the loss of a decade-long partnership, only to be handed a settlement that came with a built-in accusation and a financial sword dangling over her head. Accepting the money meant accepting the clause. Refusing it meant potentially losing the financial security she needed to rebuild her life and care for her children. It was an impossible choice, but one she navigated with characteristic grace and determination. What we do know is that Nicole Kidman has never, ever tested positive for cocaine. Not once. In the over 2 decades since the divorce, despite intense media scrutiny that would have pounced on any hint of scandal, she has maintained an impeccable public image. She has become one of Hollywood's most respected, decorated, and seemingly scandal-free actresses. She has won an Oscar, an Emmy, and multiple Golden Globes. She has built a production company. She has found happiness in her marriage to country music star Keith Urban, himself a former addict who has been open about his struggles and recovery. She has navigated motherhood and superstardom with remarkable poise. The fact that she never triggered the clause speaks volumes. It could mean she simply never touched the drug. It could mean she was incredibly careful. Or, it could be seen as the ultimate act of defiance, living a life so clean, so focused, so successful, that the clause became moot. A powerless relic of a bitter past. She proved, through her actions and her unwavering professionalism, that the insinuation behind the clause was baseless. She turned the potential weapon into a non-issue, through sheer force of character and dedication to her craft and her family. The clause, intended perhaps to control or discredit, became just another obstacle she overcame on her path to becoming the icon she is today. The legacy of the cocaine clause extends far beyond Nicole Kidman's personal story. It became a cautionary tale in Hollywood, a stark example of the extreme lengths to which power and money can be wielded in private legal battles. It highlighted the often hidden battles for control that rage beneath the surface of celebrity splits. It exposed the vulnerability of even the most powerful stars when pitted against the machinery of fame and fortune. For Nicole Kidman, it was a crucible. The divorce, the loss, the miscarriage, the public scrutiny, and the humiliation of that specific clause. It was a perfect storm of adversity. Yet she emerged not just intact, but triumphant. She used her financial independence wisely, choosing roles that challenged her, building a diverse and acclaimed body of work. She found love on her own terms. She became a mother again, welcoming daughters Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. With Keith Urban, she navigated the complexities of co-parenting her older children within the Scientology framework with remarkable discretion. The $325 million wasn't just a payout. It was the foundation upon which she rebuilt her empire, entirely on her own terms. The cocaine clause, while a shocking and undeniably dark footnote, became a symbol of the battles she faced and overcame. It's a reminder that even in the gilded world of Hollywood, the most valuable currency isn't money, it's resilience, integrity, and the courage to define your own life, no matter what clauses are written in the fine print. Nicole Kidman's story isn't just about a divorce settlement. It's about the incredible strength it takes to walk away from a gilded cage, to face down insidious control, and to build a life so bright and successful that it renders the shadows of the past powerless. She didn't just survive the $325 million divorce and its infamous clause. She transcended them, proving once and for all that her worth was never, ever defined by a line in a legal document. Disclaimer: the content in this video is based on publicly available information, media sources, and opinions. It is created for entertainment and educational purposes only. We do not claim or guarantee that every detail is 100% accurate.